Oh, what's going on, everyone? Bousefeenux here with another video, and today we're taking a look at the Mag and Volt reworks. Let's jump in. Yesterday, Update 18.3 dropped, and it brought with it a lot of things. Salt, the tears of angry players who had their Trinity Blessing builds nerfed, a bunch of passives for Warframes, most of which are useless, some of which are kind of cool, and two major reworks. One for Mag and one for Mag Prime, and the other for Volt and Volt Prime. I know there are a lot of things that were changed with this update, but for the sake of time and sanity, I'm just going to focus on Mag and Volt for now. For starters, Mag has been changed in some pretty big ways. Pull and Crush do pretty much what they always have, although I feel that Crush has been given a bit of a damage buff. That's kind of trivial though, as it still doesn't fit with this game's asinine enemy scaling. The big changes though have been made to both Magnetize, which was formerly Bullet Attractor, and Polarize, which was formerly Shield Polarize. Also, if you take a look at the bottom left, you'll notice that Warframe passives are now displayed. Mags allows her to suck in items in a radius around her while bullet jumping, which kind of makes her sort of a manual carrier prime. Going back to the changes, Magnetize, aka Bullet Attractor, has actually become pretty interesting. Cast it on an enemy and they become frozen in place or magnetized. It also creates a large magnetic bubble around the magnetized target. Shooting into it or polarizing enemies that walk through it will add shrapnel and other nasty things that build up inside of it and contribute to the damage it deals to the enemies walking through it. This leads to some pretty crazy damage possibilities. I've seen people firing Lenka shots into the field that completely destroy very high level enemies. Mag's Polarize is the other big change, and a lot of people are saying it's for the worst. I think they think that because they got used to cheesing Corpus Sorties, which was really nice, but to be totally honest, I really like the Polarize change. Now, when Polarize is cast, it moves outward much like Nova's Molecular Prime. It's also affected by the same stats, range and duration. Additionally, instead of just destroying shields, it also has mass armor removal. Both of these things are affected by power strength as far as I can tell. This opens up a whole new world of possibilities for Mag, who is a pretty awesome frame, and I'm actually glad she's viable in more than just one situation now. I do have my issues with these changes, however. This is the build I'm currently using for my Mag. I haven't had a lot of time to forma or really min-max with this one, but for just putting something together, I found it to be pretty effective, if a bit energy hungry, and this is where my issue lies with these updates. It's the fact that we're seeing so many frames that need all four stats, range, duration, efficiency, power strength, to be in the positive. It's getting really annoying to have to reformat my frames every time an update comes out, and this is coming from someone who has a massive stockpile of the damn things. I can only imagine what it's like for you guys who don't collect them as much. You know, it used to be pretty simple. You had a frame that had a few good abilities, and you based your build around those. Most likely you had a dump stat that you put all your mods towards. But the times are changing, and we're seeing frames get reworked to where most or all of their abilities are pretty good and viable. I mean, this is great, but it gets really frustrating to build for when you only have 8 mod slots. The rework we received for Volt Prime kind of fits in the same vein. I feel like his changes weren't as drastic as Mag's, but I'm honestly a little disappointed in some of the parts of his rework. Shock has been pretty much left alone, which is fine. It's a decent, quick skill. Speed has been changed essentially to drop a pickup that allies can grab if they want Volt Speed too. Honestly, I can't think of a situation where I wouldn't want the benefits of Volt Speed. It increases reload speed, melee attack speed, and most importantly, movement speed. Now, if I want it, I have to somehow pay attention to when Volt casts speed, then go searching for the haste and coil that he dropped. I feel like this change absolutely destroys movement flow in an already really fast-paced game. The electric shield change is actually pretty cool though. It drops a shield like it always has, except now you can pick it up and carry it with you. The only downside is while carrying the shield, you're restricted to your secondary and melee weapons. Also, in an effort to add a bit of synergy to Volt's abilities, if you cast Shock to the shield, it becomes electrified, dealing a paltry amount of damage to enemies that pass through it. I think that it would have been really awesome is if you're carrying the electric shield, while speed is activated, you can knock down enemies in your path. I think that would have been a much better synergy than just having it do an almost unnoticeable amount of damage. Volt's ultimate skill, Discharge, has been changed to turn enemies into living Tesla coils that stand in place and zap enemies that pass by. This is a pretty nice crowd control skill, but the damage from it still falls off against anything past level 30. I know damage isn't everything in Warframe, and crowd control is really nice, but I still feel like Volt should have some sort of scaling or do way better damage than he already does. Lastly, Volt has been given a new passive as well, and essentially, as you're moving across the ground, you'll build up damage that's released with your next attack. Think of it as when you were a kid and you were shuffling your feet across the carpet to build up static electricity, and then shock the shit out of your dad. You can see the counter for it on the top right of your screen next to your health bar. As far as the benefits for this skill goes, it definitely doesn't hurt to have it, and it's a passive anyway, but I haven't really seen it do much in terms of extra damage, and who's going to spend that much time between attacks anyway? The build I'm using for Volt is actually my old general play build, and even after the rework, it's still held up. Again though, we see the need for all 4 stats to be in the positive, which like I said before, can be really frustrating to pull off. For this build though, you don't have to build like this, try anything you want, and the same goes for the mag build as well. These are just good starting points. Try different things and tweak them to your playstyle. And that wraps it up for this one, guys. I'm sure you all have a lot of things to say about the rework in general, and I'm sure as well that you have a lot of opinions on the state of Warframe as a whole, what with all the new changes they're throwing at us. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about all of this. I'd love to hear it. Also, if you haven't yet, make sure to check out some of the other series I've been working on with non-Warframe content. I've started a Dark Souls walkthrough, Uncharted 4, and I've even begun reviewing some of the tabletop games that I think you guys might be into. But anyways, enough plugs. Thank you guys for watching this, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video.